Okay, be honest with me for a second. Have you or someone you know ever spent real money on something inside a video game? A skin, a car, a weapon, a battle pass. Something that exists only on a screen, that you can never touch, that disappears the moment the servers go offline? If you said yes, you are not alone. And if you said no, I want you to stick around, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why millions of completely rational, intelligent people do it every single day. Because here is the thing that blew my mind when I started digging into this. GTA Online, the multiplayer mode of a game that came out over a decade ago, has generated more than $6 billion from in-game purchases. $6 billion. For items that do not physically exist, and GTA 6 is about to do it all over again, at a scale we have never seen before. So today we are not talking about stock tickers or earnings reports. We are going somewhere deeper. We are getting into the human brain. We are asking the question that most people are too embarrassed to ask out loud. Why do we spend real money on fake things? And why are we about to do it all over again with GTA 6? Let us get into it. Before we get into the psychology, I want to make sure you understand just how massive this behavior actually is. Because a lot of people still think in-game spending is something teenagers do with their parents' credit cards. That is not what this is anymore. The global market for in-game purchases crossed $110 billion in 2023. $110 billion. That is bigger than the global music industry. It is bigger than the global box office. This is not a niche. This is one of the largest consumer spending categories on the planet. And who is spending that money? The average age of a gamer in the United States is 31 years old. These are adults with jobs, mortgages, and full agency over their financial decisions, choosing to spend money on digital items inside virtual worlds. In the UK, research shows that over 60% of mobile and console gamers have made at least one in-game purchase in the last 12 months. In Canada, the numbers are nearly identical, and in the GTA universe specifically, Rockstar and Take-Two have mastered the art of in-game monetization like few companies in any industry ever have. GTA Online sells what they call shark cards, packs of in-game currency you buy with real money. The cheapest option runs about $3. The most expensive? $100. And people buy them constantly. Hundreds of thousands of transactions every single month for items that exist only inside a game world. So the question is not whether people are spending. They clearly are. The question is why. And to answer that, we need to talk about what is actually happening inside the human brain. Let us start with the most fundamental piece of this puzzle. Dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter your brain releases when you experience or anticipate a reward. It is not just the chemical of pleasure, it is more accurately described as the chemical of wanting, of craving, of that feeling right before something good happens. And video games, particularly games like GTA, are engineered with extraordinary precision to trigger dopamine release at exactly the right moments. Think about how it works. You grind through a mission. You earn in-game cash. You spend it on a faster car or a new weapon. You feel a surge of satisfaction. But then the game subtly raises the bar. Now the new item you want costs more. The car you just bought is already being outshined by something shinier. The cycle begins again. This is called a variable reward schedule, and it is the same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You do not know exactly when the reward is coming, and that uncertainty actually makes the dopamine hit stronger, not weaker. Now add real money into the equation. When you can skip the grind by spending $20 on a shark card, you are essentially buying a shortcut to the dopamine hit. The brain does not fully register the transaction as a financial loss in the traditional sense. It registers it as a solution to discomfort and a path to reward. That is a fundamentally different emotional experience than, say, choosing to buy a jacket or a meal. Game designers know this. They have entire teams, behavioral psychologists, user experience researchers, economists whose sole job is to understand and leverage these mechanisms to maximize spending. This is not an accident. This is architecture. Here is the part that I find genuinely fascinating and a little unsettling. Human beings are deeply, fundamentally social creatures, and one of our most powerful social drives is the desire for status. We want to be seen. We want to be respected. We want other people to know we have made it. In the physical world, this plays out through cars, clothes, houses, and watches. In the virtual world, it plays out through skins, outfits, vehicles, and animations. Inside GTA Online, there is a very clear visual hierarchy. The player who just logged in for the first time looks completely different from the player who has been grinding for 3 years. You can see it in their car, their outfit, their weapons, their apartment, and the fastest way to climb that hierarchy without spending months of your real life grinding? Spend real money. This is not a superficial impulse. Researchers have found that people develop genuine emotional attachments to their digital avatars. There is a psychological phenomenon called the Proteus Effect, named after the Greek god, who could change shape where people's behavior and self-perception are actually influenced by how their avatar looks. When your character looks powerful, you feel more powerful. When your character looks wealthy, you feel a sense of identity that carries real emotional weight. So when someone spends $30 to get the most exclusive car in GTA Online, they are not just buying a car. They are buying a version of themselves that they want to project to the world. A social signal. An identity statement. That is something human beings have always been willing to pay for. The medium has just changed. And this phenomenon is only going to intensify with GT6, because Rockstar has clearly invested heavily in character customization and world building at a level that makes player identity even more immersive and personal than anything we have seen before. Here is another psychological mechanism at play one that many people experience without ever having a name for it. It is called the sunk cost fallacy. The moment you spend $20 inside a game, something shifts. You have now invested in that world. And the more you invest financially, emotionally, and in terms of time, the harder it becomes to walk away. Not because the game is necessarily better, but because leaving would mean acknowledging that all of that investment was for nothing. This is why game ecosystems are so sticky. It is not enough to make a great game. The goal is to make a game where the more you put in, the more you feel you cannot leave. Rockstar has built this brilliantly with GTA Online, They regularly release new content, new missions, new vehicles, new events that require spending to fully participate. And because you have already spent money in this world, you are far more likely to spend again. Each transaction lowers the psychological barrier to the next one. In behavioral economics, this connects to a concept called mental accounting. We do not treat money as perfectly fungible. $1 is not always just $1 to our brain. Money that has already been spent in a category tends to unlock more spending in that same category. It is why people who buy an expensive gym membership are more likely to pay for a personal trainer. The mind has already opened an account labeled fitness spending, and adding to it feels less painful than opening a new account. Game companies have figured out how to open that account for you. And once it is open, they know exactly how to keep it active. Let us talk about one more powerful psychological lever, and this one is going to feel very familiar to a lot of you. FOMO, the fear of missing out. Game companies have turned FOMO into a monetization strategy of breathtaking effectiveness. The formula is simple. Take something desirable, make it available for a very limited time, and watch what happens to spending behavior. In GTA Online, limited-time vehicles, clothing items, and bonuses appear regularly. They are only available for a week, sometimes only 72 hours, and the messaging is always very clear: this is going away, and it is not coming back. For a player who is already invested in that world, the emotional experience of that countdown timer is genuinely stressful. Psychologists call this reactance the instinctive anxiety we feel when we believe our freedom of choice is about to be taken away. We want things more when we believe we are about to lose access to them. This is not a character flaw, it is hardwired human psychology. And it works with devastating efficiency in gaming. GTA 6 will almost certainly amplify every single one of these mechanics. The world is bigger, the customization is deeper, the player base will be larger, and the content cadence will likely be faster. Every psychological lever that made GTA Online a $6 billion cash machine is going to be refined, upgraded, and deployed in GTA 6's online ecosystem. And here is the most important thing to understand. None of this requires people to feel tricked. Most players fully understand they are spending real money on virtual items. They do it anyway, because the emotional experience is real, even when the items are not. So what do we do with all of this? First, just being aware of these mechanisms makes you a more conscious consumer. When you feel the pull to spend inside a game, you can ask yourself, is this the dopamine loop talking? Is this status anxiety? Is this FOMO triggering my reactance response? That awareness does not have to stop you from spending, but it gives you agency over your decision. Second, if you are a parent, understanding these systems is genuinely important. Children are not equipped with the same impulse control and financial context that adults are. The psychological levers we talked about today hit children even harder. Having honest, non-judgmental conversations about why these systems exist is one of the most valuable things you can do. And third, if you are a creator, a business owner, a marketer, or anyone who influences other people's decisions, the psychology inside games like GTA Online is a masterclass in engagement, loyalty, and motivation. Understanding how these systems work does not just make you a smarter gamer. It makes you a smarter human being in every commercial and social context you operate in. GTA 6 is about to drop into a world where billions of people already understand the basic language of virtual economies and digital identity. And those $6 billion that GTA Online already made, that number is going to look tiny in a few years. Because the line between the physical world and the virtual one keeps getting thinner. And the psychological drives that make us human status, belonging, reward, and identity do not stop being powerful just because the world they operate in is made of pixels. If this got you thinking, and I hope it did hit like, leave a comment telling me whether you have ever made an in-game purchase and what made you do it. I genuinely want to know. No judgment here, only curiosity. Subscribe if you want more content that goes underneath the surface of pop culture and asks the questions everyone is thinking but not quite putting into words. I will see you in the next one.